This film also had the creepiest Santa. And you could,
oh my god, yeah!
We need to find the fourth dimension, and by finding all these tiny little perfect things that happen in our neighborhood or in our town or whatever, we're gonna find the fourth dimension, and we're missing one. I'll pick Andrew Garfield. Peter 3.
Peter 3. I believe I put that on there.
Ooh, that comic book filter.
This green ball?
This green tennis ball is Vecna, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. We're talking about Chippendales the dancers, right? Not Chippendales the chipmunks? Okay, I was just making sure. I didn't see it, but I know what you're talking about.
Hello, cinema peeps!
Hey, cinema peeps.
Ooh, when you try to turn a yawn into a burst of energy, so you seem alive and active.
We should have a count. Like, comment below how many times Kaylee's made you yawn on this podcast, because yawning's contagious, right?
It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot, I guarantee you.
And we have obviously some technical difficulties with our gear this week. I mean, what else is new, right? But yeah, my camera just decided to refuse to not connect and update today, so we're switching back to the old handy dandy trusty laptop webcam.
We almost lost mine. Mine was like, ooh, we're not recording then? Sleepy time. This is a special-ish episode? Yeah, special-ish. Yeah.
Special-ish, yes. I do have a couple things I wanted to dive into before we get into our special episode.
Excellent.
But
love it.
Yes. So I'll first start off by saying I ended up, out of my own morbid curiosity, watching The Banshees of Inisherin.
And this is after I warned you about it?
This is after you warned me about it. Yes. Kaylee has seen it already. I feel like we had this discussion not on the podcast, but
yeah.
You have seen it already, and out of just my own morbid curiosity, I wanted to check it out because I felt like, I don't know, I just there wasn't. I'm gonna try really hard to like watch majority of the films that are on the Oscars list that we have for Best Picture, but there's just some that I'm like, I don't think I can do it. Like, I don't know. And so this one was one of those ones where I was like, I feel like I can at least give it a shot, and if I don't really like it, I'll turn it off, kind of thing, right? So yeah, this one was kind of more in the middle compared to like some that I were just like, yeah, that's a hard no. I'm not gonna watch one of those.
Right.
But yeah, honestly, I kind of didn't mind it. Yeah.
Like I said, I found it painful at some parts, but there are like some nice dialogue moments.
Yeah.
Although the guy cutting off his fingers was just so dramatic. I was like, okay, buddy. Like, all right, let's fucking relax now.
Yeah, but, that whole bit, and then the donkey, and then him setting the guy's house on fire to get revenge on him. I'm like, what is going on?
Right? And it was a wolf.
Yeah, it was a lot. I wasn't expecting that, that's for sure.
It was one of the ones I was really hoping was going to be like really funny, but yeah. And I mean, it did have its moments, but
I feel like it's, how there's British humor, and then there's like other kinds of humor, but like, when people tell you, oh, it's British humor, you kind of know what to expect at that point. And I wouldn't say this is like British humor. Maybe I don't know if there's such a thing as Irish humor, but it's kind of more like that dark comedy satire kind of vibe. And I didn't even realize until I did more research that Martin McDonagh, the director and writer of this movie, also did like many of the other films that Colin Farrell has been in. So like In Bruges, which is also has the guy who cut off his fingers in it. He did Seven Psychopaths, which is a movie I really enjoy, and oh no, it is slipping my mind. Yes, the Three Billboards. Yeah.
I think, to be fair, what really ticked me off was when my mom was reading reviews, and many people were saying this was better than Three Billboards, and I was like, bruh, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Are you insane? I'll cut off my fingers and choke your donkey. Like, what are you talking about? Maybe that's why I have like an extra level of hate, because I'm just like so baffled.
Yeah, no, it's definitely different from Three Billboards, that's for sure. But I don't know. I felt like Seven Psychopaths, maybe it's just my sense of humor, but I felt Seven Psychopaths and Three Billboards were more entertaining than this one. This one had kind of like its own thing that it was doing, and it like it kept me engaged enough to want to continue to watch and see what was going to happen.
Did not
but
feel
like
that way.
yeah, it was crazy. It was not what I expected at all.
Like I said,
beautifully
there's, like,
shot
some
though.
fun. Oh yeah, of course. I was like very thankful they would cut to scenery shots. I'm like, oh, this is a nice palette cleanse for me.
Yeah.
But like there was what comes to mind to me is that scene in the bar where he gets really drunk and he has that speech about being what it means to be a good person versus like a not inspirational but like a legend, quote unquote. Like do you live your life as a mundane person being good to others, or do you make something that's worth value of your life, where you live on in that sense? And I guess that was the struggle between, at least I'm just gonna call him Mad Eye Moody, but his name is Colin, but then it confuses me because Colin is not his actor name, but the character Colin, who's Mad Eye Moody, you know, he has this weird thing where he wants to, be bigger than him. Be bigger.
He wants to leave a mark on the world before he goes out. Yeah.
And so he belittles his one of his only friends on this small ass island.
His lifelong friend. Yeah.
And so he has that speech in the bar, which I thought was really good. And then his sister comes and then just fucking wipes the floor and is like, "Oh, you guys think you're so fucking smart? You're actually fucking not. You're wrong." Because he brings up this example about Mozart, and poor, Colin Firth's character's like, "I don't even know who that is," and because he says a date, and I already forgot what the date is, and the sister's like, "Wow, you're actually wrong. It's actually this date, you dumb fucks." Just being like, this big talk of like leaving a mark and being, da da da. You don't even can't even get your own fucking facts straight, you dumbasses.
Yeah.
So like, I appreciated that scene, and I was like, but there was a lot of little moments I appreciated, but it was just overall not my cup of tea. I was just like, I agree. Too weird. I just and maybe I just felt sad by the end because I don't know, because it seemed like Colin, the character, I guess had this growth of being like, oh, maybe I don't need to leave a mark on the world. Like, you are interesting enough for me to now, his friend being more interesting to be around. But at this point, Colin Firth's character is just so hurt because he's lost his sister, his best friend's being a psychopath, cutting off all his goddamn fingers, and killed his donkey.
Yeah. And it took him having to be humbled by the fact that he unintentionally killed something that was, had no, it wasn't involved at all. It was completely innocent of their quarrel or whatever was going on between them, and it took that for it for the light bulb to kind of click and him be like, oh my god, I never meant for that to happen. And I know Colin Farrell, I remember him saying afterwards, he's like, I would never hurt your dog. Make sure your dog is not in your house when I set it on fire, because I would never hurt your dog.
Right.
But even too, like you were saying about that scene in the bar, I kind of felt the same way about the scene of him and the guy, I can't remember his name, but
the guy who looks like Ezra Miller.
Kinda, yeah. The always drunk kid or whatever. Him having that conversation with him on the cliff, and him saying I feel like you're too nice. You need to rough it up a little bit. Maybe you just need to be more assertive or do something that shows you mean business. And then he ends up telling him, he's like, no, you're more you're not as nice as I thought you were. Then he kind of walks away from him, and then Colin Farrell's like, oh, but okay, I you told me to try to stand up for myself and prove my point, and now apparently I did that, but the extreme version, and now nobody wants to be around me, kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Kind of like you said, in terms of the list of the best pictures, where I was there's some where I'm like, oh god, I am not looking forward to this. I was really hoping this one was gonna be a little bit better and be okay, we're okay, but now I'm just oh fucking god, there's so no. So as of right now, it's lower on my list, but obviously since it's the only one I've watched, obviously it's... But I'm already not feeling as optimistic about all the other picks.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I watched the trailer for that Triangle of Sadness, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I can do this one either.
We're going to watch all the Oscar movies, guys. Just kidding. We decided to opt out.
But I'm surprised
Right?
this one didn't get a nomination for Best Cinematography, because there's a lot of really pretty shots in it.
Did it not?
No. I looked again on the nominations list, and it didn't get one for cinematography.
Weird. For some reason, I thought it did, because I was like watching the movie. I was like, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah, right?
Weird. What was your second thing?
Well, the second thing I wanted to dive into quickly was, did you hear about the new Dexter announcements?
No.
Oh, all right. Well, there's been 3 announcements for Dexter.
Okay.
Supposedly, it has been confirmed that there is going to be a season 2 of New Blood.
Okay.
There's also going to be 2 spin-offs. One called something to do with the Origins, and another of being a prequel of the Trinity Killer.
Okay.
So the thing that got me intrigued, like, we'll dive into it a little bit, but the thing that got me intrigued was the Origins one, because I remember you mentioning about in the books how there's a whole book kind of dedicated to the origins of the Dark Passenger. So I'm wondering if that's got something to do with that, maybe.
Yeah. The second you said that was exactly where my mind went. So.
Right? Because we've already seen the origins of Dexter. We've seen kind of a little bit of the origins of Trinity. So I'm not sure, like, if they're just going to do kind of like pull a whole Winchester's thing and just like throw that story out the window and like be like, here, we're doing a new version. Or if, I don't know.
Yeah. Which I always feel is difficult to do in terms of a prequel.
Right?
But, season 2 of New Blood obviously would focus on Harrison, which I mean I'm not against.
Right?
That
and
they're
as far as I know, they haven't confirmed who's returning, but it'd be kind of cool if like Michael C. Hall returns and he ends up being like what Harry was for him and what Deb was for him. Like if he's kind of like that voice of reason in his head, or maybe he becomes the Dark Passenger voice for Harrison. That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah. And then origin show, definitely intrigued, because again, if they follow maybe the books, although it got pretty messy. So, although that does remind me that I've been meaning to read the next Dexter book. So
nice,
but I haven't gone around to it. But yeah, just off of that could be interesting. But I think most of all, I'm more interested in a prequel of the Trinity Killer. Yeah. I think that's probably what I'm most interested in.
Right?
So I mean, that was probably one of their best serial killers.
Definitely.
Of the show, so.
Yeah.
So, random take. I think, specifically for the Origins show, if they do one, they should do it as a cartoon. Or, like, animated style.
That's interesting.
I think with something, again, going off the title, calling it Origin, if we're talking about the origin of the Dark Passenger... And like I said, in the 3rd book, it had origins all the way to like AD, like really long stretches of time. And supposedly there was like parts of the book, where you were the origin of the Dark Passenger, where it started like in the beginning of the world kind of thing, as the world was being formed. I think probably the best way to represent that would be animation.
Definitely.
Just a thought. And that way it could almost break up. Because again, like, what are words? When I think of like the Marvel cinematic, like, because again, it feels like they're trying to make like a Dexter universe.
Yeah.
I would say, like, I mean, I'm not against it. Kind of like you said, where it's like, maybe we don't need this. But I think if you're going to do it, maybe doing something as in an animated style might,
in a different medium.
Right, would like shape it up a little bit, make it interesting.
Yeah.
Because again, kind of like we've discussed many times in past podcast episodes, they've definitely changed what the Dark Passenger is in the TV show versus in the books. So the fact that they are trying to tackle this is interesting to me. And like I said, if they did an animated style, like I think that'd be fucking dope as hell. Right?
And like, would Michael C. Hall be the voice of the Dark Passenger still? Like, because I mean, that man has a very sexy voice, so I would be open to that.
Right, there you go. See, we solved your problems, guys. Boom. But right, so the man of the hour, the speed demon of the hour.
The Scarlet Speedster, the Red Streak.
Flash, season 9 just had its first episode of the final season last night.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those are words. Yeah.
So would have been last Tuesday when this podcast comes out. Or Wednesday, sorry, last Wednesday when this podcast comes out. Yeah.
I will say I had to speed watch because I hadn't watched the last 3 episodes of the last season.
Oh, see, and I was thinking about doing that today too, because I was like, I really don't remember a lot of what happened. I know they did like a bit of a recap at the beginning of the episode yesterday, but it wasn't enough to really like solidify everything from last season in my mind. So, and I didn't end up getting a chance to do it, but I'll rely on you to be my source for that.
Confused as all hell.
Yeah, that I remember for sure. Confused and very let down.
Right? Because I was trying to remember like way back, because they were teasing a special guest, were they not?
Yes, they were teasing a special guest. They were saying, you're never gonna guess who it is. It's our biggest comeback or a biggest surprise guest ever.
Yeah, and it was just Thawne. So I was like, okay, cool beans.
Yep.
But what was my thought? So yeah, I watched the Allegra hostage situation episode. That was where I was at. And then which was the Meet the Man in the Yellow Tie with Thawne and the other speedster lady, which I gotta say, funny as shit when she shakes his hand is like, I promise I will not, something lines of like, not hurt you or something, da-da-da. And I was like, wow, that's not ominous at all. I feel like every character in the CW is like, I swear I'm not going to hurt you. 2 seconds later, I'm going to kill you.
Just kidding.
I'm like, wow. And then we had the finale, part 1 and part 2 of The Negative Man.
Yep.
Or the Negative, I think it was just called.
Something like that,
and yeah. That was the point where I was like, right, I forgot season 8 was this weird clusterfuck of things.
Mm-hmm.
Of like mini stories that just all kind of
conglomerated together. Yeah.
Yeah, and now we here.
We had Caitlin and Mark's story on trying to get Frost back.
Mm-hmm.
We had Barry trying to get Iris back from the time thingy, and then her time sickness they were dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Cecile got new powers, like an upgrade of her powers.
Jesus.
And Joe's just been kind of like hanging out in the background, and he's just like there's something on his mind, something's bugging him, but he hasn't said why.
Right.
And then so.
And then I guess the Speed Force, like the people got negative because of the sickness, I guess.
Yes. Oh, and there's some tension, romantic tension between Allegra and Chester.
Yes.
Yeah.
As always. Because they're just like, meh, here we go, people. Here's a new romance. That's what's gonna happen. Enjoy. I think we kind of, I don't want to dive too much into it because I feel like we've talked about this before. We kind of want to keep it on like the new season and stuff. But gosh, it was just so chaotic and strange. And I know there was the big talk of like, well, for years they've kind of done this whole thing where it's like, oh, big bad. And unfortunately a lot of them were like, big bad speedster. How do we fix? And that was kind of the whole season. But kind of doing all these mini stories was just so weird. And it was hard not to think that some of them were maybe like they wanted to delve more, but maybe because of time and resources, like something happened, so they've just all felt incomplete. And then especially when it came to like the end where Mark and Caitlin are trying to bring back Snow, it slightly undercuts her death in a way.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, obviously I want her back for the last season. But then it's like, why did we kill her? And I know part of it, I feel like we talked about this. Like, I feel we were wondering if part of it was just because the actress herself, like, it's a lot to, like, you know, play two different people. That's a lot of resources, you know. But, yeah, I don't know. And then the ending where Barry's just sitting on the ground, and then I guess he kills himself, I guess. was just a moment where I was like, right, huh. It just reminded me of the ending of the season before that, where they had lightning lightsabers, and I was like,
yeah.
I just, yeah.
A lot of questions.
You can just smell when maybe a show is just past its prime. You're like, what is that,
what's that aroma I'm detecting?
Right?
Yeah, no, I've been feeling that since the Mirrorverse, like the Mirror Master stuff, and like just during COVID, where we kind of like hit that break, and then it was like everything kind of shifted. I know that the new showrunner, I think he's the new showrunner, is trying, or he stated he was really leaning into the comics more. He wanted to try to bring a lot more of those stories to life, which is cool for the comic book fans and stuff, and trying to just like maybe create more stories to tell, obviously, because they wanted to keep it going for a while. But I feel like it also has just caused some confusion, maybe, in some ways. It doesn't feel quite as consistent as it was. And I think because like Greg Berlanti was trying to draw inspiration from the comics and tell their own version of the Flash, and now that we're trying to like go more maybe a little more linear, and like, you know, like we'll get into it, but like in this yesterday's episode, we had a new Captain Boomerang, yet we've already seen that and like had stuff attached with that character, and it's just, I don't know, it just feels a little confusing. And like, oh, sure, you can blame it on timeline and the fact that all the Earths have collided now, we don't have multiverses anymore, so like there's all these excuses you can make to kind of like explain why it's that way, but it still just doesn't feel consistent. And I feel like you were mentioning with these mini episodes, or these mini kind of storylines that they're doing, it feels very similar to kind of something that they talk about on Smallville, where in the first few seasons they would have this freak of the week. So it was like there was this main storyline going on, but every other episode had to do with like some oddball character who had nothing to do with the main storyline, who got affected by the meteor rocks, and they had some sort of like ability, and it was up to Clark to have to like figure out how to stop them. And then that was that. Chapter was closed by the end of it. We moved on to the next episode. So it just kind of feels like Flash is doing that now too, that kind of freak of the week thing. And I feel again like they're not letting things simmer. They're not letting things build. It's just kind of like, all right, we gotta wrap everything up in a pretty bow in this episode, and then on to the next one, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Leaves you being like, do I want to watch the next one?
Yeah.
And again, I think part of it is maybe why I hadn't finished watching the last season.
That's fair.
Kind of like, I mean, I meant to.
It feels like homework at that point.
Yeah, but then I had like zero motivation to do so. I was just like, So I mean, it was a good thing we're like, hey, we're gonna do a podcast on the new episode that comes out. So I was like, oh, I better fucking finish those episodes then. You know, but yeah. So coming into season 9, I just hope that I mean, I don't even know what I'm hoping for anymore. I just want to have a nice ending. Again, just wrap it up, you know. And I mean, we got the big announcement that Stephen Amell is in the last 2 episodes, I guess.
Yes, he's returning. He's putting the hood back on. He's going to be resurfacing.
So I'm super pumped about that.
Definitely.
Like, again, because people are like, oh, is he coming back as Green Arrow or Spectre? And he was like, who cares? And on one hand, I'm like, yeah, who fucking cares? I'm glad he's back. But again, it's like,
right? And that's just my beef with everything, is it's like let's not just bring somebody back because it's going to bring you the views that you're looking for. Let's bring him back to give him some good story to build with and work with, right? Like if it's just going to be kind of like what they did with Reverse Flash, where it was like, oh shit, he's back, what's he going to do? And then like it's like, all right, and he left. Like, oh, we get to see him in his new dumb looking suit and out he goes, kind of thing, right? So it's like if Green Arrow's just going to show up to be like, what's up, I'm here, and then he's like out, it's like, okay, like what was the point, you know?
Sorry, I just remembered, I don't know why I forgot, my biggest beef with the last season.
Yeah.
It has layers, okay? So way back when Arrow finished up, there was that scene where a meteorite hits Earth and John gets a mysterious green box.
Oh my god, yes, we have to talk about this.
Everybody was like, oh my god, Green Lantern, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I too was like, Diggle deserves the world. Of course. This is fantastic. You know? And then obviously Panorama hits, so you know, stuff happens. So then they're like, well, Diggle's gonna go on this adventure on all the different shows.
He's gonna show hop.
Yeah, and he's gonna show off his rock box sometimes, but not on Legends. He was a completely different character, so what else? You know? And just, you know, to get at the end and to open the box, and it's like, it doesn't matter what's in there. I want my family, and then throws the box and it disappears. So
right?
Okay. So
the shock and anger and just disappointment that was expressed between Zena and I when that happened, we were just like, that's it? That's what you choose to do?
And now this again follows the lines of my thinking of like, was there going to be something more? I do genuinely wonder if they, and again, I don't know because I didn't really look this up and I don't really know how you would, if they were workshopping, hey, we want to make a Green Lantern series with Diggle. And maybe they were trying to workshop that, but obviously Panorama hit. And I don't think anyone really wanted to make new shows, you know, and I'm even trying to think, I mean, I think there was new shows that came out, but I don't think, and then there was that whole thing with the fucking CW where they canceled shows left and right and center.
Yeah.
So it could, like, this is the only thing that makes sense because it won't let my blood boil as much, is that they were maybe trying to workshop something. Obviously that didn't work, so they knew they kind of had to wrap it up in a way, and they were like, oh, I guess it's Dion because it's green and he's the time person, I guess. And I mean, on one hand, I'm happy for Diggle. That makes sense, you know? He wants to be with his family.
A family
I think
man.
that's great.
Yeah.
But I'm also like,
that's just, I don't know, that's a big risk to take in that, to me, or maybe that's not the right way to describe it, but just like to have such a build up and such a great standoff between two iconic characters on the show. We've got Diggle and Reverse Flash. We've got like Tom and David, and like just them having this kind of back and forth, this like, what's gonna happen? And he's like, you have a choice to make. And he brings him this thing and he's like, you're the only one who can tell me what this is about. And he goes, ah, yes, you have a choice to make now. And then you can tell, you're like, okay, what's Reverse Flash up to? Like, he's got something's brewing. And then Diggle's just, you know, but there's that moment and you're like, oh shit, here it is, here's the final thing. And then he's like, nah. It's like
right? And that's why I feel, I don't want to believe that was what the intention of that was.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe it because it's so fucking stupid. So, to me, it has to be the fact that they just never got off the ground, so they decided, let's just throw it away.
Right? And then to add more confusion, they also had on Stargirl, there's like the daughter of Green Lantern on there too. So it's like they just completely switched gears. Yeah. And now they're like, okay, we're gonna take Green Lantern and do it in a different direction and put it on in this show now. Yeah.
And again, I think the bottom line is just, I mean, obviously from the sound of your voice, it's just the wasted potential. And again, I'm sure there's many people behind the scenes who maybe are also frustrated, because I want to believe that this is something more than just that fucking moment, but maybe this is this is the only way to wrap this up and maybe not make fans too fucking upset. But I feel at that point, kind of going back to like the Dexter thing, where it's like, maybe just leave it open-ended. Like, maybe, yeah, just leave it open-ended. The fact that you cut Legends and I'll never get a conclusion will always frustrate me forever and ever.
Oh,
and
yeah, 100%.
And this is the conclusion we thought was going to be okay for this, but although I will say, switching gears a little bit,
yeah,
the first episode coming back, I was like, this isn't too bad. I liked the shenanigans of, they were reliving the same day, Groundhog Day, except they didn't do it on Groundhog Day, they did the day before.
Yeah, yeah.
I did like the Barry would wake up in bed and then it would just spook Iris every time, and she smacked him with a pillow.
Yeah.
I was like, this is very funny. Again, it was still like Barry has just not learned his lesson, where he's like, I've wrote out our book of our entire lives. I know what's happening every minute. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it just kind of feels like Barry's like unraveling a little bit. Like it's like his he's losing it a little bit. He's so desperate to hold on to Iris that I feel like he's just kind of losing his ground. Just, I don't know. That's the vibe I'm getting. But yeah, it was a decent episode back. I will agree.
And then we have a weird teaser with like a cloud of smoke that ended in the bat symbol.
Yes.
So, which kind of makes a little more sense, because I think Candace posted a video with her, and I can't remember her name, but the other actress who plays Batwoman. They were doing some more dancing and shenanigans, so I'm wondering if she's coming back, which that would be nice because their show got canned. So, you know,
that would be nice. Yes,
nice way to bring people back.
Yes.
But of course, obviously, my brain was a tingling. I was like, what is this? What is this?
Mm-hmm.
Which is, again, now that you've talking about the multiverse stuff, and now I'm a little like, So, anyway, my thought process. So, the whole thing with the lightning, right? The bat symbol.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, there's this whole, I feel like maybe I've told you this before, so I apologize if I'm boring you, but there's this whole line of Batman comics, which again, it focuses heavy on like multiverse stuff, of like all these different versions of Batman, but they're all evil.
Okay.
But it's like in all different ways. So, there's one where he like becomes the Joker because he kills him. But I think that causes him to go mad. So there's like this Joker-esque character. There's one where he's Aquaman.
Interesting.
And he becomes well, it's a her in that one. She like, I can't remember what happens exactly. It's been so long since I've read it, but something bad happens, so she like drowns the world. So she's the drowned bat or something. And then I do have a but where is it? They're all like these bad versions of Batman, but they've like are like Justice League members.
Okay.
So there is one where he kills the Flash and becomes the Flash.
Yes.
And so so it's called Red Death.
Yeah, okay.
Let me get this in frame better.
Cool.
So it's kind of the same symbol at the end too, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think that's what they're alluding to, because I did watch, or I did take a look at like the info details that they had for next week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
And the Red Death name was mentioned, so I'm guessing that's probably what that is.
So that is, and I mean, like I didn't finish reading the comic book series. I got to the point where they are all converging to take over and be like evil, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the comic ended with a bunch of monkeys on a spaceship, but just
okay.
You know, going like again, being like, let's be true to the comics. Should we though? Sometimes should we? But
is this the proper ending we need for the Flash?
If there's not a single monkey, I'm gonna be very upset. There needs to be one monkey.
Right? Now that you mention it.
Right. But again, this whole thing is brought up because there's an imbalance in the multiverse, which now you have reminded me does not exist.
Yes.
So how does any of this exist? I know, like, I guess the big thing is, like, oh, we need to find the negative avatar or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, this is another point where, like, the show nonchalantly is just like, you know, the negative avatar. I mean, I was just having this very normal, like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to be, like, the negative avatar. And I was like, you got to wonder, as an actress or an actor, and you sit there and you go, what the actual fuck am I saying? And they were teasing something about the future, which I mean would kind of work, because I believe a lot of these Batmans are from like really far into the future. A lot of them are.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are. That's a weird way I don't know why that sounded weird. You know, so I guess that could make sense. But then they teased a rock, a blue. I don't know what that's fucking from. Like.
Yeah.
So again, as much as I'm like excited about these things, I'm also just like,
right?
What's happening, guys?
And then we have this hybrid. Caitlin Frost, which we don't know her name.
My God.
But before we dive into that,
so upsetting.
Before we dive into that, you talking about that stuff kind of like got my brain like rattling a little bit, and I'm wondering you saying the whole imbalance in the multiverse and stuff like that. I'm wondering if that's maybe why Arrow's coming back now, because technically when last time we saw him, the very last glimpse we got of him was Felicity coming to the monitor and saying, I just want to be with my husband, I want to be with my family, or maybe it was it him who said it or her who said it? I can't remember.
I thought it was her.
I think it was her, yeah. And so the last thing we see is him coming back, them together, and then they kind of go off into this, like, portal-looking thing together. So I'm wondering, maybe, does the Monitor come back and state this fact that you've mentioned of there's an imbalance in the multiverse, and we need to, because that was kind of the theme of Crisis on Infinite Earths, was there was this imbalance, right? So I'm wondering if there's still this imbalance there, and they need to bring back the multiverses again. And in doing so, he brings back Arrow, and who knows what's going to go on from there? And friends, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
But again, as we were talking about season 8 having all these mini stories, because there's only supposed to be 10 episodes, so I don't want this to be like this is like a tiny hiccup in the overall.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's also a lot to ask, to be like, I want every episode to be very meaningful since this is the last season. You know, but at the same time, I'm like, I just don't want these to be little hiccups. If this is your last run, you got 10 episodes, let's just
tell a good story.
I know you guys, right? I know you guys don't want to be like, oh, who's the baddie of the whole thing? And like, just stick to it. That's what you're good at. Just stick to it.
Right? Yeah.
But also, when Caitlin came out of the pod with those damn blue highlights, I was like, did you just become your character from Sky High? Although I had to look it up. I was like, she didn't have high. I was convinced that girl had highlights, but she does not.
I thought they were like those little like barrette highlight clips that you get from Claire's, because it just looked really weird. So I was like, what?
The fact that she's like, I'm neither. Who are you then?
Yeah. We'll find out.
Like, this is a very long, uncomfortable silence that we are experiencing. Yeah. So wild.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait till next episode to get a little more insight into which direction this final season is going. But yeah, I want to hold out hope, but I also am really, really trying very hard to not have high expectations, because this is now 2 or 3 seasons from past that I've just been very thoroughly let down. And I don't know if that's from my own doing, or if that's because of the creators, or if it's a combination of the two. But I just want to see, them go out on a high note. Let's do good by our characters that we've loved for so long, and yeah, we'll see.
Right. Excuse me. Yeah. Like I said, going in, I am hoping for the best. But I'm also already like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. But I mean, what was my other thought? They also did a lot of name dropping. Oh, did Kara not tell you? Oh, Can't Grant. So I am hoping that maybe more and more, as we say, friends will come.
Yeah, some more super friends.
But we'll have to wait and see.
Yep.
I mean, to be fair, it's not as bad as the Velma cartoon, so that's something to be proud of.
Oh no.
We'll have to save that for another day.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be its own episode, I think.
Because that one too, wild.
Oh no.
But next week will be National Treasure.
Woo, yes. Woohoo.
National Treasure.
So stay tuned for that. But I think on that note, that will be the end of today's episode. Yeah, let us know your thoughts down below. If you're a fan of The Flash, if you've been watching, if you're keeping up. Do you guys feel the same way? Do you have any other thoughts? Anything maybe that, any little tidbits of information that maybe we don't know about that you can share with? leave a comment down below.
Anyways, thank you again. We hope to see you next week. And remember to watch all the content. And we'll see you
leave us a like first. Don't forget to like this video. Subscribe as well. We appreciate if you like what we do. Subscribe and check out our other videos as well. We make all kinds of content and discussions on all kinds of different things. So go check those out. And yes,
watch all the content.
Watch
all the content. Watch it all.
Watch it all.
I will see you next week with National Treasure.
Woo woo!
I promise it'll be a fun episode. It'll be fun.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be a good one.
Me too.
All right, Cinema Peeps. Okay. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Monkey. And...
Oh no, Slack! Oh no!